Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries from across the country, and joining me on this segment is Jack Chung. He's the vice president of BTI Group based in San Francisco. Jack, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. We're glad to be here.
Jack, tell me a little bit about your work and specifically, who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping?
Great. So I help small business owners realize their equity in the businesses and companies that they've built over the years. And I love working with small business owners, entrepreneurs. They are extremely interesting. It's always good to hear how they got into the business and you know get a really in-depth look at how their businesses work. That's definitely what keeps me interested in what I do. Most of my clients are, I like to call a lot of them corporate refugees. So these guys are C-level executives that either worked for large companies or have owned their own companies before, and they're looking to either exit the company they're at now or acquire a small business or a company for them to run and build equity for themselves.
Wow, this is very serendipitous because you mentioned a couple of really important things here. Um, First of all, that's why I do this show because I love hearing the stories about business owners and how they created what it is that they do. And you mentioned also the Great Resignation, which was the inspiration of this whole series of interviews. Um, let's start with that. Is it really with the Great Resignation? Is it really a good time to buy a business today? And is it a good time to sell a business? Has these two tidal waves sort of come together?
I think there's a lot of opportunities right now for someone that has the entrepreneurial spirit. I think, this actually started, I would say, even prior to the pandemic. We were seeing back in 2008, 2009, after the housing crash, that, people are going back to school, getting a second degree, getting their graduate degrees. And what that has caused, or seemingly caused, is there's a flood of very highly educated potential employees coming out and making the industry a lot more competitive. And I have a lot of corporate guys who are in their late 40s, maybe early 50s, it's much harder for them to find jobs these days that are going to replace the kind of income that they need. A lot of our clients have families, kids that are about to go to college, and college isn't getting any cheaper. And so a lot of them have a certain level of income that they're going to need to replace if they were laid off or if they left the company. And I think these days, I think people want to build equity for themselves. A lot of these guys have worked for companies for 20 years, 15, 20 years, and they have a lot of good experience. And now I think they're looking to utilize that experience to help themselves build equity versus the company that they're at. And so I do think there is a great market for entrepreneurs who've always thought about, starting their own companies. I think there's a lot of good opportunities out there. In our business, I'm going to say we've had some of our best years over the last 2 years. And I think that's a culmination of there's baby boomers who are near retirement age and they just need to get out. And I think after a pandemic, you kind of refocus kind of what your goals are in life. A lot of these people, they don't want to work another 5 or 10 years to rebuild business, but they have really solid, healthy companies, and it's only because of the pandemic that they've suffered a little bit. And I think it's a great opportunity for someone to come in, take over the reins, and be able to sustain some of that growth going forward. A lot of our companies are seeing kind of a check mark rebound these days, where they took it on the chin during the pandemic, but now that things are starting to calm down, we're seeing a great, a lot of them have great 2011s, and 2022 seems to be doing extremely well as well. I think going through these recessions, it's there's good and bad. I think the companies that were kind of on the fringe and maybe probably should have been out of business long ago wouldn't can't survive the pandemic or any kind of recession. And I think companies that have come out of the pandemic sometimes are better and stronger companies going forward. And I think these challenge, when the business is fat, you don't really focus on kind of operational things and things that you can improve efficiencies and things like that. When you hit a pandemic, everyone is looking for ways of cutting some of that fat. And even for office spaces, we've learned to work without office spaces, and I think business hasn't really suffered. And so I think sometimes when you do things the same way for a long time, you just keep doing it that way, even though there might be a better way of doing things. And I think sometimes a pandemic or a recession really kind of refocuses a business owner's mentality to really look at their books and look at the things that they're doing and what they can be more efficient at.
Let's talk about the seller for a minute.
Sure.
As you mentioned, they've been running a business for a long time, probably thinking growth, growth, growth all these
Mm-hmm.
years,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe not even considering the selling part of it. And if this is the first time they're selling, how experienced or how knowledgeable are they when they finally reach out to you? What kind of
You know,
questions do they
I,
ask, and are
I
they unprepared?
yeah, I'm very surprised. I mean, most of the times people are selling. This is the first time that they're going to be selling a company, or the only time they're going to be selling a company in their lifetime. And I'm actually surprised that a lot of times when I speak to business owners, many of them didn't know that it could be done. They just thought, oh, unless you're a public company or you're a company like Twitter or Facebook, we would want to buy a company like mine. And I think that is part of the education that we're trying to get out, because I talk to business owners all the time that just said, oh, well, I was just going to roll up my company once I was done, when I'm ready to retire, and just, go off into retirement. And so I think there is a lot of education needed into this industry. There are people that just didn't never thought that a business can be sold, who would want to buy a job for themselves. And I think that is contrary to what they think. There's a lot of people out there looking to be their own boss, and I have to say, not everyone is made out to be an entrepreneur. It is not an easy industry to be in, but I definitely think that sellers need to be a little bit more educated on what what their businesses are worth, and it's basically an asset of theirs, and it can be sold.
So see, that's a strange thought. They were just going to roll up the company, didn't even consider any, like, what a lost opportunity that is. So let's talk more about that. Are there any other kind of crazy myths or misconceptions people have in regards to selling a business today?
Yeah.
What do you hear out there?
Well, I think a lot of business owners also feel like they have to be the one that finances the transaction for the buyers. And that may have been the case, 20 years ago. There just wasn't a whole lot of lending products out there for entrepreneurs looking to buy a business. Now, our company works very closely with many SBA banks, so small business administration banks, that offer very, very attractive loans. When I first started in this industry in, I'm going to say, early 2007, 2008, these loans were at about 11% interest, and people were still gobbling them up. Today, we're able to put someone into a small business administration loan. You're probably looking at a 5 or 6% interest. And I think that is something that a lot of business owners don't know about. That, hey, look, traditionally it was always seller financed. Someone comes in with a down payment and they finance the remaining balance. These days, we can almost cash out typically a business owner 80-90% of the proceeds at close. And that way, they don't have to worry about the success of the business going forward. The better thing about this is it's government backed. And so the banks love doing these loans because the federal government will guarantee up to 75% of these loans for the banks. And so I think we have a lot more options for cashing out a seller these days. In addition, with financing, we're able to kind of tap the highest market value for your business, right? With a loan that can be paid off over 10 years, and that way utilizes basically the business income to satisfy that debt service going forward. And so I think a lot of business owners, they don't understand that. They've been too busy running their business, and they just think, hey, we're either going to have to finance this, and I don't really want to do that. And, they're ill prepared. So I usually say, business owners, if they're thinking about getting out of the business, we need to start preparing your business for sale probably 2 or 3 years ahead of time. When we sell a business, it's always a look back. It's hard for me to sell potential, but it's easy for me to sell historical numbers. And so we always tell sellers that, hey, if you are thinking of, being out of the business in 3 to 5 years, you need to start planning that 2 to 3 years before your exit. And that way we can help clean up any financials, financial statements that you have, and really kind of prepare that business for the best possible marketing going forward.
Great insights and really exciting news on financing. Jack, what inspired you to become a business intermediary? Like, what got you started in this field?
I got my real estate license fairly early, right when I started college, because my mom was a real estate broker. And, I went to college, helped my mom out, part-time in her business. And afterwards, I got right into real estate with her. So I did residential real estate as well as commercial real estate. But it really didn't, I did that for a few years, and those times were good. Those were when, you put up a home for sale and you had 12 offers, cash offers, in 2 weeks. But I really didn't feel like I was using anything I learned in college. Really, I went to school for international business and finance, and I realized, if I wanted to do real estate, I really didn't necessarily need to go to college. It's great to go to college. I love the experience, but you didn't really need a degree to do what I did. And so I think I got a little bit burned out working after hours. You're always working opposite hours from your clients. So when they're home or on the weekends. And I was really craving something that that I got a little bit more use of my education, or at least a little more interesting. And so I started looking around, and I found this company on Monster, if you still remember the Monster sites. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
oh, hey, M&A, that sounds interesting. You needed a real estate license because in California, we're governed under the DRE versus the SEC. And so we don't need a trading license or anything like that. And when I got into the business, it was extremely interesting. When I first got into the business, my goal was to find a company that I can see myself operating for the next 5 or 10 years. And that was really kind of one of my goals when I first started. What I learned is it's a hard business. Entrepreneurs don't have it easy. When I was young, I saw, family members that own companies and, people that ran restaurants, and man, they live in big houses, drive nice cars, but you rarely see how much work goes into every small business. And so it really opened my eyes on how dedicated some of these entrepreneurs are. I had clients that, work 50, 60-hour weeks, and that's just the way that they were built, and they couldn't see it any other way. And I realized, I may not be made out for entrepreneurship. I don't know if I wanted to put in the 70-hour weeks and whatnot, but they made really good income. But it was really just being able to see the under the hood of a lot of different businesses. I've sold small businesses all the way up to, $10 million companies. And it really is interesting to see how these entrepreneurs have made it work. And I've had entrepreneurs that, immigrated here, didn't speak any English, and then they built a $20 million company, over the last 30 years. And it really is impressive. I mean, I have to say, I used to think I would be an entrepreneur, but they're a different animal. They're definitely a different animal. And I
To
wish
live vicariously through
there you
these,
go.
and your curiosity is such a great match for this
Yeah.
business, because you
Yeah.
get to
I
to
mean,
scratch that itch.
I learned more about, like, I sold a plastic bag company that sold t-shirt bags, and now I know, the thickness of bags and who uses certain types of bags. It's interesting, but you also get a lot of, I call it Jeopardy knowledge.
So never a dull moment.
Never, never, never.
Jack, for folks listening now who are considering selling a business, or maybe there are some folks that say, I want to talk to Jack because I'm looking for some businesses to
Absolutely.
buy. Maybe he has a list for me. How can
Absolutely.
those folks find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Well, they can definitely check out our website. Our company has typically has about a couple hundred listings listed internally on our website, and they can check it out at www.business-team.com. So BUSINESS-TEAM.com. They can also give me a call anytime, 415 415-930-4323. That goes directly to me, 415-930-4323. And my offer to all small business owners is, give me a call if you're interested in just understanding what your business might be worth on the market. We'll provide you a opinion of value based on comparable sales of similar companies of similar size. And then I think a lot of business owners need that information to kind of decide where their next steps are, right? If your company's worth $500,000, it might be a very different plan going forward versus if you needed $1 million. We usually like to establish that for our clients. No obligation on your behalf to sign up with us or continue with us. It really is just so we can provide them a piece of information to allow them to plan their next steps. For business buyers, we're more than happy to work with you. Give us a call. Let us know kind of what companies you're looking for. They might be around immediately, or we can put you in our database so that in the future, if a company comes up that fits what your needs are, we can reach out.
Jack, this has been terrific. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. And anytime, I'm more than happy to help out any of your listeners.
That was Jack Chung, Vice President of BTI Group out of San Francisco. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.